just my luck. I recorded a really good intro, and guess what? No audio. I forgot to turn on the power. Go figure, right? Anyhow, today's podcast is with Dr. Stephen Melman. He's a psychotherapist, and we talk about his book. But before I really get into that stuff, I got to tell you, Stephen is quite the character. He's a lot of fun. If you're watching the video, you're going to see that he's got this constant smile on his face. And I mean, he's entertaining, informative and entertaining, and a lot of fun. Again, we're supposed to be talking about his book, and it's about, how clinicians are supposed to stay true to their values. But we got into talking about relationships, marriage counseling. I'm not married, but we got into that, and it ended up being a really, really good and informative podcast. And like I said, if you're watching the video portion, you're going to see that he's always smiling. So find the video, watch the video, and also I want to say thank you very much for always being here and supporting the channel. If you are not a subscriber or following, please do so. It helps, and it also helps get more, I don't want to say better, but a wider variety of guests. And that's what we want, right? We want to have a variety of guests that are very informative and helpful. So anyhow, before we get started with Stephen Melman, remember, if you're a pet owner, please remember to have your pets spayed or neutered. Oh, one last thing. Yeah, if you see the video, see what this shirt says? Mean people suck. Let's do it. Your book is, let's see if I can get this right. I'm going to get it. Guidance for New Clinicians in a Chaotic World. And then like the sub heading on that is how to practice your craft while preserving your traditional values.
You got it. Good job, Chuck.
I know a couple of things I want to ask you right off the bat. And one really is, what are traditional values? And then what led you to write this book? Because it's kind of aimed towards new mental health professionals, but we want to kind of put the mix in about that and about, I'll just say, patients, the regular folks.
Initially, I wrote the book because I did lots of research, and I said, when I first graduated and they said you can start seeing clients, they go, uh-oh. And in the medical field, they talk about thou should do no harm. And I know I didn't do any harm with my first clients, but I don't know how successful, how effective I was. And so it took me a couple of years before I found my niche and felt confident and competent as I began seeing clients and being effective with them. And so I began, if I had those feelings, did my colleagues too as they started out? And then the answer was yes. And so I said, well, why didn't graduate schools prepare us for that? And so so I started writing or thinking about writing my book, but I was so busy. I was working full time. I had a private practice part time, and I said, well, when I retire, and I did in 2021, I said I got to write this book. And within a week of retirement, I sat down every single morning after breakfast and just typed for a couple hours each day. And go ahead.
I was going to ask you, when you say harm, I know all some people listening and watching are triggered. They're like, harm? What do you mean? He's a professional. What do you mean by what did you mean by harm?
Okay. So I didn't, let me just rephrase. So I didn't do any harm, meaning that if they were coming in for depression, I certainly didn't make the depression any better, or any worse rather. But I was wondering how effective I was. Mm-hmm. So I'll just give you just for instance. So I was so serious. I didn't crack any jokes. I hardly smiled when I was seeing clients. And my thought was, well, they're coming in for something serious. I need to treat it as such. And so I had a colleague that gave me some great advice and said, Steve, I've saw one of your clients, and what she said was he is so knowledgeable, but he's so stiff. Mm. And he said, you have a wonderful personality. Use it and use your humor. And so when he gave me sort of like permission to do so, it opened up a lot of things. And so now I say that I take very serious why people come to therapy. But at the same time, people are coming for therapy. It's not an oxymoron to say we can have fun at the same time.
Yeah, because I would imagine that, going to a therapist, you don't want to enter the environment where it's cold and sterile, because that in itself is isolating and scary.
Yes, yes. And so I want people to feel comfortable, not only comfortable about me, but comfortable for what we're going to do and what we're going to accomplish. And so I paint mental pictures for clients of how, for instance, I'll say, in life we have the healthy person is the one who has all these goals, long-term goals. And so if you think about 1,000-mile trip by car, and so you say 1,000 miles, that's a long way. I go, well, all right, we've mapped it out. We know how long it's going to take us, but let's stop focusing on the destination. Let's just start focusing on the things we're going to see along the way, and conversations we're going to have, and packing our favorite songs, singing along to the songs, and so like blinders. We stop focusing on the long distance and we start focusing on the shorter distances. And those mile markers stack upon themselves, and before you know it, we've accomplished our goal, both short and long term.
That all really makes sense. And you used to hear, maybe you still do, where people say it's not the end, it's the journey that is important, or that makes that much better.
Right. Yes.
So
that is so true.
It is. It really is. So for since this book is also to help the new clinicians, what is it that they can use and do? And you kind of mentioned this, but what is it that they can do to break the ice, so to speak? So if I'm say you're a first year clinician, you're out and you have your practice, and my first batch of clients come in, and how am I going to break that ice to make them feel comfortable when they come into my office? Does it start at the door when they open, or when they get into the chair?
Yeah. When I have my standard line when people sit down for the very first time, and I'll say, so what brings you here? How can I be of assistance to you? And it really is listening to them. It's not a cookie cutter approach. So everybody that comes in, you treat them the same as far as techniques go. No, you really listen. And if you have to interrupt, it's only just to ask for clarification. Mm. And then you summarize what you hear the person saying. Well, so if I heard you correctly, I heard you say da 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 da. Is that accurate? And so you're constantly checking on them to make sure that you're on the same page where they are, and how they frame it. And so there's lots of visualizations I have. The successful clinician is the one that's sort of like playing checkers. That I know where I want to go, and it's sort of like a flow chart. As they're telling me things, I'm thinking, okay, so if they move here, I'm going to ask questions about this. If they say this, I'm going to move in a different direction. And I'm also beginning to think about, so goal-wise, where do I want to take this client from where they are today, and helping them to accomplish what they want to in the future.
So,
and now, go ahead.
The way you're making it sounds like you're allowing them to guide you to get to that end point.
Yes. Well, and so we guide each other. It's a collaborative approach. So together, I can't do it without them, and they could do it without me. But I'm the vehicle that helps them to accomplish their goal.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Well, you know what? That's what I would want my psychotherapist to do. Is I would not want to be in the chair and have them say, well, this, and this, and guide me, and because I'd be thinking, oh, that's not why I'm here. Why are you asking that?
Yeah, and so it is that collaborative approach and I constantly ask questions like, does that, I'm a cognitive, they call them, I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist, and so cognitive means about thoughts, and sometimes their thoughts make sense and sometimes they don't, and then the behavioral part. Sometimes there's all kinds of things I could say. For instance, sometimes we engage in negative what ifs,
Mm.
and those what ifs are called rabbit holes. And I said, so what happens if those what ifs don't happen? All those things that you're imagining, all those fears, anxieties, what happens if they don't happen? How about if we just focus on facts as we know them to be? And if they're not facts, then they're conjectures, they're assumptions, but they're not facts. So if the facts change, we'll deal with the new set of facts. But until they're facts, we're not going to deal with them. Their assumptions or conjectures.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so it's helping people. I often say that one of the things that makes us human is we talk to ourselves, and it's okay to admit that. We all do it. And our self-talk can either be negative or positive. Okay. I'm all about helping people to be motivated, to find the most helpful ways of saying things, and helping them to establish goals and working them. I'm all about words have power, words have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was growing up, I'll just say this. When I was growing up, my parents, when I was 6 years old, 8 years old, whatever, and my parents constantly said this about me: "You are the most stubborn child." Well, what did I know? And so what did I know about synonyms? Until you get further in school and you learn there's synonyms for every single word. And I learned, hey, I'm not stubborn. I'm persistent.
Yep.
And so it's got me in trouble sometimes, but most of the time in my personal and professional life, if you tell me I can't do something that's really important for me to accomplish, that I may not say it out loud, but I'll say it to myself, gee, I wish you hadn't told me that, and I got to prove you wrong. Or I bet there's a loophole. I bet there's a workaround.
Yeah. And there's one thing that you just mentioned about words, and where words can actually hurt us. But remember the day, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me, which is not so true now.
Right.
But
Right.
it would be nice to be able to put that into your head and say, those words won't hurt me.
Right. Or I'll consider the source just because you said it. Who made you godlike? Who made you the authority?
Yes.
If I have 50 people and 40 of them say kind things to myself, I'm not going to focus on the few that had something derogatory to say about me.
And that, I think, all right, folks, I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a counselor of any kind. But I want to say that, the thing that I did when I was at a very young age to combat that, the negativity, because we bombard ourselves. I think we are the most negative person to ourselves, is ourself. I made a list of what I knew or felt that was true about me and false about me. And I always use that, and I had that mental list. And if somebody said something that was true, I would say, oh, of course, that's on my true list. If they said something negative, I'd say, that's not on my true list, so that's not true. So that's how I mentally combated any negative or anything derogatory towards me growing up. And it worked. Is that helpful for people?
Sure. And I always say that as we get older, we become more and more introspective, and we decide what makes us tick, what are our strengths,
Yeah.
And that helps us to decide what we're comfortable with as we figure out the world, how to deal with other people, how we deal with our environment, external from ourselves, and it's the person who can, as they get older, they're much more in tune to themselves, and they're less likely to be influenced by other people. That they're truer to themselves. They're much more satisfied within themselves.
I would have.
They figured out a way of how to be I call it diplomatically assertive, how to get along with other people, and an environment that they're comfortable within themselves.
I would imagine that is still a fine dance to do. And I say this because, especially maybe for women more so than men, because of the point where if you get that confidence and you've been reassured of your confidence, some people may look at it as, well, she's a whatever, or if it's a man, he's a jerk, or he's a whatever, because sometimes it seems like maybe their confidence gets in the way. Sometimes they just become overconfident. I only say that because I've seen friends who, I remember we used to tell this guy, why don't you just, be quiet and just do what you say. It's almost like we're picking on him, but he would always say something, but then he became confident because he went out and did what he said he was going to do that he never did, and we kept pushing, but then now he's overly confident.
Okay.
He crossed that line into the dark side.
Yes. Okay. My mind went in different directions. That if you want to change people's behavior, oftentimes don't label them like you use the word jerk. Oftentimes, if we say you're such a jerk, sometimes they begin to defend themselves against the label. Yes. But if instead you said examples of their behavior without using the label, then and you say, well, gee, from how you describe me, it sounds like I'm a jerk.
You're absolutely right. I'm thinking back, and he was defending himself. We were being aggressive, and he was defending himself. So, and even when he got to the point, we may have teased him a little bit still, and he was defensive about it. It wasn't that he was a know-it-all, although I still think he thought he was afterwards. Sorry to take on that off tangent, but I just thought that
that's fine.
People who are watching and listening would probably want to know, well, what's in it for me? I'm not a clinician, and I want to understand about my friend or about myself. And so this leads me to ask, your book, will it help even the non-clinician?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So yes, even though I labeled the book Guidance for New Clinicians, the people who and I literally asked other people to read the book and tell me what you think. So yes, I wrote it in a way that anybody could pick up the book and read it and find it beneficial. So I guess that a spoiler alert, that if you're reading the book, the first introduction, I use it in the third hand. He did this and such, and I'm sorry about the dogs in the background.
All right.
Hold on. So people who picked up the book and they began reading it, and so they said, well, gee, I found it very, very helpful, because of the first part of the chapter was, I said, in the very end, all these things that happened to this individual, I said at the end, that person I was describing is me. And all the challenges and everybody has speed bumps. Nobody goes through life in a straight line. There's all kinds of challenges and obstacles and things that we have to traverse through the world. And how do we get through that? Yeah. And so my thought is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm the guy that I'm terrible at math, and I had to take statistics when I was undergraduate. And it took me 4 times to get through that blooming course. 4 times. But I'm persistent, and I don't give up. And I said, I'm not going to allow one class to prevent me from achieving my goals of being a psychotherapist.
I think that's the other thing about this is if on the other end, not the psychotherapist end, but on the other end, the patient end, it can be anybody. It doesn't matter what you look like or how you were raised, although some things may play into it, but it at the end, it just doesn't matter. So I guess what I want to say is don't feel that you are alone because, you think you want to see or need to see a psychotherapist or that you're not alone. So, and it definitely sounds like reading your book is going to help everybody. Like I said, even though I'm not a clinician, I'll understand where that guy is coming from, where that, gal is coming from.
Well, I came as I was thinking about writing the book in different ways. And I said so. It was not only to help new clinicians, but I included how to help couples achieve a better relationship.
Okay.
Okay, so I included some, and that's my thought is when I'm doing, if I give homework assignments to couples, I'll say, well, if I'm going to give you a homework assignment, I want it to be not only informative, helpful for you, but I want it to be fun. So just to give you for instance, I'm of the age where there was a game show called the Newlywed Game. Okay, so then I'll say that. So and it's a myth. The myth is that we believe that the longer we're together, that we know everything there is to know about our partner. But for us as individuals, we change, not necessarily our core, but priorities change and how I saw the world when I was younger. Things I don't see the world exactly the same, and I have a bucket list. Maybe something I really thought I really wanted to do when I was younger. As I've gotten older, my bucket list may change. So if it's true for us as individuals, it's true for our partner as well. So how well do you know your partner? So when the two of you are apart, think the questions you want to ask them. And then when the two of you are together over dinner, or just it's a nice evening, and just turn off the TV and put music on and just talk with each other. I was thinking about you, and I was wondering how well do I know you? So let me pose some questions to you, and before you answer, let me predict what your answers might be.
Wow.
But it could be fun things like if your favorite music artist was to come to town, who would you not want to miss?
And things like that change, like you said.
Yeah.
And I'm not it. I'm a single, but I bet you a lot of couples do not do that. And I don't know why. Like maybe they think they know each other because they said they're thinking, oh, I knew what he or she was like when we got together, and he or she is the same. And you're absolutely right. We all change over time. My favorite band and music or my favorite movie may have changed, or how I feel about the world. But maybe we should leave politics out of it for right now.
Or to have, we'll leave it aside just to say though that we see things on the news, and you can have a conversation about it. And you pause it and say, well, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
And it's easy to do because most TVs or whatever, especially streaming, you can pause it. And like you said, have dialogue in a conversation and continue. I'll say this, Steve, that's genius. It is. And I hope the people who are watching and listening really do that.
Yeah, it's all about bonding with each other. How well do we know each other? And not only for the little things about the musical artist, but to be deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
To have conversations about things that are thoughtful, things about things that make us think. I love to be challenged. I think that there's nothing I haven't thought of before, but I'm open enough that I know people have different opinions, and so I want to. Well, tell me what you think. And I go, and I didn't think about it from that perspective, but let me wrestle with that.
Yeah. That's far better than the standard you get home. Hi, honey, how was your day? Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
Anything exciting?
yes,
No, not really.
yeah. So, and you're absolutely right. And I say that most couples, that's what they do. It's a reserve for when you get home. How was your day, and what would you like for dinner?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a couple that goes beyond that. Well, we yes, we can talk about our day, but we talk about the work. But I always say, to use that catchphrase, been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
To tell you about my day, it doesn't mean I can't tell you about my day, but I don't want to relive it. I've already lived it once. So yeah, okay. So you're more than welcome to tell me about your day, and I can tell you about my day. But let's not do a blow by blow description of the whole day. How about 15 minutes each, and then let's move on.
Yeah.
So what would you like to do such that when we're back at work tomorrow? This is my thought is, I didn't even think about work not even 1 nanosecond last night. I was so focused on enjoying our time together, together as a couple, our kids, interests and hobbies, that I didn't think about work.
You know,
That expression about all I did was change zip codes, but I was still thinking about work. I was like I never left work.
yeah. You're making me think if I for somebody out there that just doesn't know where to start with that type of conversation, I would think, I'd be saying to my spouse, I was thinking about the time when we went on our honeymoon or went on that trip. That was so much fun. I know it was your favorite spot. Is there something different now that you want to see? And maybe that leads into something. Because I think everybody loves to travel, so that's an easy door to open.
Yeah. So when you're leaving work and you're heading home, think about that. So what would I like to do with my partner this evening, such that it transports me from thinking about work? It could be of all the trips we've been together, if there was one that we could redo or go back to, or what's on your bucket list? Where have you never been before that you'd like us to go together? We're back to that question again about if your favorite music artist was to come to town. Tell me who is your favorite movies. It could be anything and everything that bonds us.
Yeah.
Just having I always play around when I say the person, oftentimes it's the female partner that says, we had such an intimate evening together last night. The guy says, what intimacy? I don't remember intimate. No. What we talked about bonded us. That's intimacy.
I'm gonna be the negative guy person, because these are all well said and done, but I think sometimes because we are all so negative about ourselves, it puts us into that word we used earlier, defensive. People might start thinking, why are you asking me so many questions? Even though they've been married together, what's going on? They all of a sudden, they have to find that negativity in these probing, fun questions. How does one prevent themselves from doing that?
Okay. All right. So I take people back to when they were first dating, and I go, were the two of you quiet? No, yeah. It was fun. We wanted to know as much about each other as possible. So why does that process have to stop now that we've been married for X amount of years? Why not continue to be inquisitive?
Yeah.
It helped to bond us initially. Why not now? And that thought is, well, we've been married for so many years. I swept off your feet. I don't have to continue to do that anymore.
Yeah, and wash that thought out of your head. I've heard that a relationship is an everyday thing that you work on to make yourselves happy.
Yeah, and I'm glad you used that word. Two words. One is work, and the other's hard.
Yeah.
And so I hear people say that it's so hard to keep a relationship together, and I go, whoa. Let's go back in time when you and your spouse were meeting and talking with each other and getting to know each other. If I would have pulled each one of you aside and said, is this hard? Is this work? No, this is fun. I'm enjoying getting to know the person who, and this might be the person I eventually marry or spend the rest of my life with.
It's
And I said, so is that hard? Is it work? I said, so uh, um, to continue doing the same things you were doing in the beginning, leaving notes for each other, or texting each other just in the middle of the day and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, I love you. Can't wait to come home to be with you. How hard is that? How much work is that?
and I'm thinking about this in the point where even if you smile to a stranger, it makes them feel good, makes you feel good. So why not do something like that? Like you said, leave a note, send a text, thinking about you, love you. I just had a fantastic thought about you during lunch, or whatever it might be. Do it to somebody you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And these are things I again, I'm not paired up with anyone, but I do see certain friends who do something similar where they always seem like they're happy, and I see other friends who are couples who don't, and they just go about their day.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's on the surface, on the outside, from what I can see.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want to use a blanket statement. I guess one of it is whatever works for them. As a person who helps people with marriages, helps people improve their relationship, I'm all about helping them to find dialogue, helping them to converse, helping them to initiate issues that need to be talked about. And I always try to make light of things. I say, Confucius said, those who sweep the issues under the carpet wind up with lumpy carpet.
Yes, so true.
So it's a couple of I help people with how to say things in a positive way, how to initiate a discussion, how to have that discussion. The only time I use that word divorce is to divorce yourself from your emotions and deal with issues logically, common sense. If I said to you, so Chuck, I'm wanting to buy a car, uh, but help me with the emotional part of buying a car. What emotion? Then you're going to ask me questions about what's the purpose? What does gas mileage matter? What's the vehicle being used for? So you're asking me the logical questions, and so when we're talking about issues and between couples, financial, how should we navigate through this expense or whatever? I would encourage you to do that logically, not the emotional part. And when you find yourself getting angry, maybe take a time out and come back to it.
I'm shaking my head yes, because I just see where people have a very, very difficult time leaving their emotions out. And both sides, men and women, get emotional. I'm not going to, I'll pick one side and say this, and this is just because. We'll say the woman gets more emotional at the beginning, and the man will say, quit being emotional. But the man is emotional and does become emotional. So both of them are emotional.
Yeah. So together you would want to say, let's talk about this rationally, and don't use those emotional words. Other than if we find ourselves getting emotional, take that time out. But I often say, well, let's do things differently. So I was really focusing on really listening to each other. They say that we only listen to each other 60-80% of the time. And you go, why is it only 60-80%? Why isn't it closer to 100%? Well, we're thinking about what we're going to do for lunch, or I'm only half listening to you because I'm thinking about how to rebut what you're saying. Okay. So really giving each other eye contact. I saw you nod your head, Chuck. Nodding your head doesn't mean that we necessarily agree. It just means I'm following your train of thought.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So really listening, the only questions you're going to ask if you interrupt is just for asking for clarification. I just want to make sure I understood you. Did you say, did you mean da 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 da? And you, yeah, that's what I meant. And so we're going to, when the other person finishes talking, before I say, well, now let me tell you what I think. Instead, I'm going to say, so Chuck, let me summarize what I heard you say. And then well, I see it slightly different, and I express myself, and you say, well, Steve, let me see if I understand what you're saying. So if we find we have a difference of opinion, and that's exactly what they are, opinions are neither right nor wrong, they're just that, they're an opinion. And so when we find we have a difference of opinion, we might say, this might be a good time for us to take a timeout.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take with you, with me, Chuck, what you had to say. And you're going to hopefully do the same thing with me. Well, so let's come back together. And when we do, we're going to, I encourage people, it's not my way, it's not your way, it's what's in the best interest of the relationship.
Yeah.
So there's no ego in that. So I might say, until you express your opinion, I didn't see it any other way than from my perspective. But now that you express your opinion, let's go with yours. I think yours is a better way. I didn't say right way, because if it's not right, then who wants to be wrong? So I said, so your way might be the better way, or I see a natural compromise between your way and my way.
Yeah. That leads me to make a comment about being defensive. And I think we have to be careful how we phrase things. If you're in that, we'll call it a heated discussions, whereas you say, you don't make any sense. Maybe instead of saying that, say, that didn't make any sense to me. Can you explain? Or I didn't understand, rather than saying you, say, I didn't, because it really is that I did not understand. So we all have to understand that it's I that doesn't know. It's not you are not explaining it.
Yeah. And even be careful if you say, it didn't make any sense to me. I'm not sure I was following you. Can you explain that? Can you elaborate?
Yeah. It's always, I think that is always a good thing. At least for me, or my thought is, I didn't understand. Can you explain? So it's saying that I don't. Now, can you, rephrase or tell me again? That type of thing. It seems more polite.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Polite, and I always say about common courtesy.
Yeah.
The longer, and that's another thing. In the beginning of a relationship, oftentimes we're very, very polite. We phrase things in the most common courtesy. We're free to say thank you, please, you're welcome. And then the longer the relationship goes on, we're less polite. And we take things for granted.
Can you get that for me? Can you do that for me?
Yes, and we're less likely to as the relationship goes on to say thank you. And I'm always the one to encourage people, go back to remember how things were when we were first dating, how we treated each other with kindness. And it was always, whatever you did, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Please. And continue that.
Well, I want to give the audience a reminder that this is Stephen Melman. You can find him at StephenMelmanPsychotherapist.com. And his book is called Guidance for New Clinicians in a Chaotic World. And the subtitle on that is How to Practice Your Craft While Preserving Your Traditional Values. I wanted to remind folks that because we're really talking a lot about couples therapy, counseling right now, which is great because I do believe that every couple needs to be reminded and hear this. Even if they're doing it, we still need to be reminded so we can have that own moment of saying, that's how we do it. And it feels good to be, that's like an affirmation. Somebody's saying that this is the way, the best, and you're saying, that's how we do it. And feel good. So for all the couples out there, Stephen Melman, thank you.
Well, thank you, Chuck. It's been a pleasure. I have enjoyed being on your show, and thank you very, very much. This has been such an easy interview.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And before we really go, I just want to ask one more thing about your book, because we said while maintaining like your traditional values, and we don't need to carry this out long, but what is a traditional value now? Because it changes, it evolves a lot now, and it must be a difficult thing for a clinician to keep up with individuals that come in.
Yeah. There's so many different ways that I, as I was writing the book, to keep to those traditional values, and so to keep it. The book is much more than just about marriages and couples, but if we stuck there, it would be the traditional values of how to treat each other with kindness. How to establish marital goals, talking about traditional values, and what are our roles as from a male or female perspective, or just as a couple of helping, of encouraging people. I'm trying not to keep using the word traditional, but with kindness, with respect.
Okay. Well, I guess, folks, talk about it. Talk to each other, and we say be kind to people, be kind to each other as well.
Yes. And it worked for when we were first dating. Hopefully it makes sense to continue that, to treat each other just like we were dating. Keep those behaviors up.
Well, I'll say thank you. This has been a great session, folks. Put your donations and money in the bucket on your way out. Again, Stephen Melman, psychotherapist.com. Stephen, this has been fantastic. I've learned a lot, and again, I'll say I'm not even paired up. I'm going to go out and look for that gal now.
Well, make it fun.
Definitely. Now keep it on.
It's not work, and it's not hard.
No, I'll make it fun. If you're out there, I'm going to come and find you, or you come and get me. Thanks, Stephen. You have a fantastic day.
Thank you very much, Chuck.
You're welcome.